Welcome. Today I have a fusion. Oh. Today I have for you a fusion record list, and I also have, if you don't want to listen to me talk about it, that's fine. I've got a playlist on Spotify that I made that is basically an amalgamation of these albums. It's like 2 songs from each album. It's not exactly 2. It's like my favorite songs, basically. So My Spanish Heart has like 4 or something. First record, Allan Holdsworth, Secrets, Vinnie Colaiuta. What's remarkable about this record? Vinnie's fluidity, his colorfulness, his ability to paint on the drums. And although he's playing super fluid, there's like an attack in his playing. There's a viciousness. I don't want to say viciousness, but like there's still power there. Incredible album. And I remember my teacher, John Adams, when I was like 15 or 16, was like, "You haven't heard this album? Oh man, you're gonna crap your pants." And I did, because it was like, what is he doing? It was like, that's the intro. You'll hear it. It'll all make sense once you hear that. This one is really hard to find. Tom Coster set the record straight. Dennis Chambers playing on it, and there's like some crazy displaced sort of funk, really up-tempo stuff there. There's some swinging. Dennis Chambers, he holds it down swinging there. But next we have the Chicoria Electric Band, and I would say the self-titled album is the one. Because, I mean, Dave Weckl just like murdering it. There's Got a Match on there, Rumble. There's a few other really good ones on there too. But yeah, I've been showing my girlfriend Beth Dave Weckl, and she's been like, "Oh my god, I knew Dave was good, but wow, he's just incredible, wow.
So good."
It's like, yeah,
Zach reaction.
That's what I'm telling you. He's a master. He's a master. So there's that, and then there's also To the Stars, which is also a good one. The best one off that To the Stars album is Check Blast, the first tune. Then we have Cab 4, some more Dennis Chambers, and I almost put Cab 1, but I went back and re-listened, and like the first tune on Cab 1 is Blazing, but which on Cab 4 the first tune is also Blazing, but there's quite a few others on Cab 4 that are really good. And Dennis Chambers, his pocket is just, I mean, he used to play with Parliament Funkadelics, and so his pocket, his funk is just like, feels so good. And when he does displacements, it also feels really good. You know, sometimes cats do displacement. Nowadays, it's like they don't have the groove foundation, so when they do the displacements, it feels weird. And usually it's a technical thing. It feels technical. With Dennis, it feels natural. And he's also listening. Bunny Brunell is killing on this album, bass player. And so is Tony McAlpine. I did not realize, I forgot how great Tony McAlpine is. He's from Springfield, Massachusetts. Shout out to Western Mass. That's where I'm from. And he grew up with my mentor, Joe Salmons. So, yeah, listen to how Dennis is listening to these guys. And when they're soloing, he's comping. Comping is whenever you're complimenting the soloist. So you have to be, you're not just playing in your own zone and holding it down. You're playing, listening to the other guy. Listening to the guy who's soloing. Well, everybody, but he's kind of your one that you're looking to feed and feed into. So Dennis does that really well on that album. Tony Williams' Lifetime. We talked about this in the last video I made, what you need to know about fusion. This record is huge for fusion. Yeah, it's one of the classics. Tony is so smooth, and his use of flams and phrasing is like, yeah, it made Vinnie Colaiuta. Without Tony Williams, there is no Vinnie Colaiuta. Who else did it highly? A lot of other drummers it highly shaped, but there's a period where you can go and listen to Vinnie, early Vinnie, and you're like, you sound like Tony Williams. But then, of course, he gets his own sound. So that's interesting. Next up is Dave Weckl and Fusion record list. This is supposed to be like one record for each line, but you know, with Dave Weckl, there's 5.
He gets 5.
He gets 5 because I'm a Weckl head. All right,
You're biased.
To me, yeah, Master Plan, Heads Up, Synergy, Perpetual Motion, Multiplicity. Those were all bangers, and Weckl's this. I think he's one of the smoothest. He's so freaking smooth. Gary Novak is pretty damn fluid too, but something about Dave Weckl's ability to utilize orchestrations colorfully and tie it in with vocabulary, and he makes statements with it. You know, it's not just like he's playing chops. He's playing chops. He's utilizing vocabulary, and he's taking all that, and everything he's playing is a statement, is a setup, is a response. Basically, it can be transcribed. I think he's the most transcribable guy, where it's like, yeah. Although it's not just what's being played, it's how it's being played too. His fluidity and... Anyways, yeah, Dave Weckl. Now you know I'm a huge Dave Weckl head. Billy Cobham, Spectrum. Obviously, that was a huge record for a lot of drummers. Change drumming. Crosswinds too, because I used to have this playlist that my mentor Joe made me, and when I was like, yeah, he made it for me. I was like 15 or 16, and he's like, the last thing you think of when you go to bed is the first thing you think of when you wake up. Like, take this, and it was a cassette. That playlist had Spanish Moss from Crosswinds on it. It had Night Sprite from The Leprechaun. It had Tumba Island, the live version with Gary Novak playing a 8-minute drum solo. It's like a 28-minute song or something. But that changed my world. That playlist, I would listen to it every night before I went to bed. Like as I was laying in bed trying to go to sleep. That's what I was hearing. And so it's just like that thing that I talked about in the last couple videos ago, where I'm just talking about osmosis, kind of just constantly listening to this vocabulary and trying to get it into your system and into your being and just open your mind. So Billy Cobham, very powerful drumming. To me, he's kind of started that power playing, but he also has dynamics too. Like, he can play quiet as hell. When I did the Dave Weckl fantasy camp with him, I was like surprised how quiet he could get. And great sound. And of course, Dennis Chambers wouldn't be Dennis Chambers without Billy Cobham. We would have no Dennis Chambers. So then Frank Zappa. I say Joe's Garage because that's really the album that changed things for me. My dad gave it to me when I was like 14 or 15. No, I was in 8th grade, so I was younger. I was a lot younger. but basically there's a bunch of songs on there like Why Does It Hurt When I Pee, Catholic Girls,
That album's wild.
Blowjob, give me that blowjob, give me that. So because of all that, I was just like, as a teenage boy, I was like, this is awesome. This guy's just like talking about comedy stuff shouldn't be talked about, but Vinny Colaiuta's drumming on that is also great. But then recently somebody was like, oh, shut up and play your guitar, you gotta hear that. It was like a couple years ago, maybe a few years ago, and then I discovered that and I was like, holy shit. So that's also there. Chick Corea, My Spanish Heart, Steve Gadd's on there playing drums, and same with The Leprechaun. He's playing drums on that as well. And yeah, Steve's got a great sound, very pocket oriented, groove oriented, but he was first to like be going like just like putting chops inside of a groove. And I love that concept because the groove doesn't get adulterated really. Like the groove is still there, but you're adding things to spice it up. So it's not like, oh, I'm grooving and then I'm going to deviate from that and go away from what the groove is to play the fill. It's like, no, it can be a part of it. And I think that's basically what Steve Gadd did for us. And then Planet X, Virgil Donati, Moon Babies, that's the album. I couldn't find it on Spotify. I know it's out there somewhere, but Moon Babies, the tune, he's like playing inverted doubles. But like stupid fast. And then he's just like, he just stays on it for like 6 minutes or something. The song's like 4 or 6 minutes. He went full retard. Then Tony Gray, Chasing Shadows. I really like this album because it's super moody and it's not just all like a bunch of lines and stuff. It's vibey. So I like that mixed in. It's kind of like Tony Gray has like a Pat Metheny sort of pensive meditativeness, relaxingness to him. And then he's got Chris Dave on there, some other guy, and Ronald Bruner. And Bruner's really takes the cake on that one because he just one of those days features Lionel Weckl, guitar player, vocalist, and it's just like, it's in 5. Sometimes they're in 6. It's triplets. He's playing all sorts of nasty stuff. But once again, we wouldn't have any Ronald Bruner if we didn't have Dennis Chambers and Billy Cobham. So it's kind of cool to see the strong lineage there. Tigran Hamasyan, you might be saying, Tigran, is that really fusion, Matt? I personally think it is because, to me, Tigran has this ability to take jazz and mix that with his Armenian heritage, and also he's mixing it with, like, he's a huge Meshuggah fan, so he's got these polyrhythmic patterns, these long patterns happening underneath 4/4, and he also is messing with quintuplets, which is really not a thing in fusion. So I think it's propelling us forward in the genre of fusion, because to me it's not just like, oh, it's a very specific genre that has a very like specific lineage. To me, it's the idea. The concept of fusion is to mix different styles to try to create new avenues of expression and to not get bogged down with what genre it is. I know it's a fusion record list, which is a genre, but like it's also it's the most colorful it should be. So like Tigran's, I think, on the cutting edge of where fusion should be going. He's mixing so many different things. And then this one, Craig Reynolds hit me to this album, Gary Willis. I had heard one song off it called Bow-Legged, but then I heard the whole album and I was like, holy crap. How did I not know about this? The Dennis Chambers, once again. So I got a lot of Dennis on here, I guess. Tom Coster, Cab 4, and Gary Willis. So, you know, there's also, you know, in the last video saying what you need to know about fusion, I did forget to mention Weather Report, Joe Zawinul, and I apologize for that. I'll chalk it up to my sickness, but I'm proud of you guys for calling me on it.
How dare you?
How dare I?
How dare you?
I was sick. I was under the weather. My brain was not right.
You were under the weather to remember
Under
Weather
the
Report.
Weather Report. Ah. The dad is strong within her. Yes. Okay. Go listen on Spotify. I'll add other stuff too over time, like Weather Report, Palladium, or Havana, or, you know, I don't know. Something off of that heavy weather record, but I don't feel a need to. For me, this was just like drumming wise, what is the most cutting edge, dope drumming? And here it is.